Thank you for tuning into video 2 for the Wort Boggart Auntie EDH deck. I'm going to be breaking down some card choices I made, why I made them, some synergies, my overall win condition. But here is the general. Wort Boggart Auntie. She's a 4-cost 3/3 goblin with fear, which makes her pretty powerful already. But what really makes her over the top is that at the beginning of each of your upkeeps, you can return one goblin card from your hand. Now, if you'll notice, it doesn't say Goblin Creature card is what makes this powerful, because you can return your Goblin Tribal Sorceries and Instants back to your hand. So let's go over some quick card choices. I do run a few sweepers. Nothing really out of the ordinary, just that they're sweepers and they'll do their job. No really specific reason for those card choices. Also, same for my lands. They're all your basic lands, things that you should have in your hand. Nothing really out of the ordinary here. If you'll notice on the deck, I don't actually run any swamps. The deck is primarily red with only a little bit of black, so I didn't really feel the need. But I do run 3 fetch lands, which are Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, and Rocky Tar Pit. They will just help me thin out the deck a little bit. That's really the only reason they're in here. Rocky Tar Pit can search for a mountain or a swamp, so I can use this to search for my dual land. The other 2 are just basics, but that's okay, because if I play these 3, crack them, search for a land, that's 1 less land I'll draw later on. Really the only reason that they're in there. Otherwise, I would only need some basics and some swamps. So these are the enchantments that I run. I run both Dictate of Erebos and Gravepack because they're essentially the same. Dictate of Erebos being 1 more mana, but I can flash it in. This deck can produce a lot of tokens, and I will sack them for all kinds of things. I have sack outlets to produce mana, to do damage, to draw cards, all kinds of sack outlets. So these are going to make those sack outlets really hurt my opponent, and they're pretty much standard black cards. 2 of my other enchantments are Goblin Bombardment and Goblin Warrens. Now these are both sack outlets. Goblin Bombardment lets me sacrifice a creature, not necessarily a goblin, just a creature in general, to do 1 damage to a target creature or player. Someone's going to play a sweeper, I'm going to sacrifice all my guys to make it hurt. Then I have Goblin Warrens, where I can pay 3 mana, sacrifice 2 goblins to get 3. Now what really makes this good is if I pay that 3, sacrifice 2 goblins, and I have a Dictate of Erebos or Grave Pact, they're going to sacrifice 2 creatures as well, and I'm going to gain 3. So it becomes pretty one-sided. My res spell would be Patriarch's Bidding. In a tribal goblin deck, or any tribal deck for that matter that has black, this is very powerful. I'm going to cast it, I'm going to call goblins, I'm going to get a lot of stuff back. My opponent, if they're playing tribal, it's going to help them quite a bit as well, which I'd obviously make that decision to play it or not play it at the time. But if they're not playing tribal, it's really not going to help them that much. They'll get back 2-3 creatures, I've seen maybe 4 at the most, nothing crazy. So here's my artifact choices. Cryptic Gateway. This card I believe is highly underrated. You can tap 2 creatures, and if they share a type, you can put a creature from your hand that shares a type with both from your hand. So essentially, I tap 2 goblins, I can put a goblin from my hand into play. If I have down a ton of goblin tokens, I can just drop a ton of goblins from my hand for free. Door of Destinies. I'm going to play it, I'm going to call goblins. Every time I cast a goblin spell, this gets a charge counter, and all my goblins get +1/+1 for every charge counter. Pretty standard for any tribal deck, really. 1000-Year Elixir lets me use my... It doesn't give your creatures haste, sort of a pseudo-haste. I can use their tap abilities as if they came into play that turn, or any of the abilities as if they came into play that turn without Summoning Sickness. Though they can't attack, it gives them, like I said, like a pseudo-haste. And then I can pay 1 to untap a creature. It's good for a few of my tappers. Umbral Mantle's good. Equip it to a creature, and when you tap them for an ability or to attack, you can pay 3 and untap them to give them a +2/+2. Now what I've done multiple times is I'll put this on, say, Wort. I'll attack with her since she has fear. They won't block. I'll pay the 3 to untap her, give her another +2/+2, tap her again, and now she's hitting for 5 rather than for 3. So it can be pretty good. Thornbite Staff is really great with a lot of my pingers. It actually lets Krenko go infinite if you have a sack outlet down. You tap Krenko, make some goblins, sack one of those goblins to something, this will untap him. It's also good for anything that really taps in general in the entire format of EDH, not necessarily just this deck, but if it taps and you put this on it and something dies, it'll untap. It's just pure value. Illusionist Bracious. I have a lot of activated abilities in this deck. Putting this on any of those creatures is really going to help me just double that up, get more value out of it, and it's completely worth it. Skull Clamp. I'm going to produce a lot of tokens. I'm going to equip this to a token. It's going to die. I'm going to draw cards. Enough said. Sensei's Divine on top. Usual. Look at my top 3 cards. If I need it, I can draw it. Here's some of my sorceries and instants. I play Fodder Launch. It's a 4-cost sorcery. I have to sacrifice a creature when I cast it, which is okay if I have out Grave Pact or Dictator Erebos, because they'll sacrifice a creature as well. Then I give target creature a -5/-5, and it deals 5 damage to that creature's controller. So if I have out Grave Pact when I cast this card, they're going to lose a creature. They have a creature that's going to take a -5/-5, and they're going to take 5 damage. And because it's a tribal sorcery goblin, Wort can recur it. I play Showstopper, 3-cost instant. Whenever a creature dies this turn, or whenever a creature I control, until end of turn, creatures you control gain. Whenever this creature dies, it deals 2 damage to target creature and opponent controls. I like this if someone tries to cast like a Plague Wind or an Ingarrick Wake, or if I just need to clear out a board, I can cast this, sacrifice a bunch of my guys, kill a bunch of their guys. Or if they cast, you know, something like I said, like a Plague Wind or an Ingarrick's Wake, I can really just make it hurt. Nameless Inversion, 2-cost, target creature gets -3/-3 because it's a tribal instant shapeshifter, and because it's changing and it's all creature types, it's a goblin. Wort can recur it. Warren Weirding, it's very much like a Cruel Edict. 2-mana sorcery, target player sacrifices a creature. If that creature happens to be a goblin, they'll get 2 1/1 goblins. So I've used this on myself to sacrifice a creature to trigger Grave Pact to also net 2 goblins. Or I can use it on my opponent. If they don't have a goblin, they're just losing a guy. But Wort can recur it. Tarfire. It's it's a shock. Basically the exact same single stock, except that it is a tribal instant goblin. So Wort can recur it. Being able to recur my instants and sorceries, or a few of them at least, is pretty powerful. My tutors only run 3. Diabolic, Beseech the Queen, Demonic. I could run more, but a lot of my goblins are tutors, so I didn't really feel the need. So now I'm going to go over my creatures. Chancellor of the Forge, he's big, he's burly, he brings in 1 hasty goblin for every creature I control. If I control a lot of goblins, he becomes pretty good. Kiki-Jiki, pretty solid, can tap to make a copy of any of my non-legendaries, comes into great effect. CGN Commander, 5-cost 2/2, brings in 3 goblins, and is a built-in sack outlet for a few mana. Skirk Fire Marshal, he has protection from red, tap 5 goblins, he deals 10 damage to each creature and player. Late game, I can use this to really end things. There's been times where someone's going to try to kill me, so I just do this for enough damage to kill us all, end the game in a draw, shuffle up, play a new game. Lightning Crafter, he is really good. He's really, really good. Champion of Goblin, not a problem in this deck. I have tons of goblins, you know, probably about 99% of my creatures are goblins. He can tap for 3 mana, tap for 3 damage, so he's a lightning bolt on a stick. Beetleback Chief, basic guy, 4-cost 2/2, brings in 2 goblins with him, mostly just there for the goblins. Necrotic Ooze, he's in there because a lot of my activated abilities are on my creatures, and he will let me use them if my creature is dead, if I haven't recurred them yet with Ward. Goblin Wizard lets me tap to put a goblin from my hand right into play. Pretty good. Krenko, tap him, make a goblin for every goblin I have into play. I mean, he'll always make at least 1 with himself on the board, but he is good. Goblin Ringleader. He's a 4-cost 2/2 with haste. When he comes into play, I reveal the top 4 cards of my library, and any of those 4 that are goblins, I put right into my hand. Mog Catcher, 4-cost 2/2. Lets me pay some mana, tap her to tutor from my library for a goblin and put it in my hand. This is really nice if I need a certain goblin for a certain situation. Murderous Redcap, 4-cost 2/2. When he comes into play, he deals damage to target creature play equal to his power and toughness. You know, he's only 2/2, shocks at base. He does have persist, so he can get up to 3 damage. But with all the Anthem effects I have from my goblins, from Door of Destinies, the fact that I can recur him, his damage usually does make a difference. Here's one of my sort of Anthem effects. Goblin Warchief, 3 cost 2/2. Goblin spells I play cost 1 less to cast, and he gives all my goblins haste. This is nice. Mad Auntie, one of my Anthem effects. I can tap her to regenerate a goblin, and she gives all my other goblins +1/+1. Being able to save a goblin that I need is dice. Goblin King gives all my goblins Mountain Walk and +1/+1. He's the king. Gempalm Incinerator is very nice. I can pay 2 to cycle this, and once I pay 2 to cycle it, I discard it, I draw a card, so that's nice, but it also deals damage to target creature equal to the number of goblins that I have on the board. So usually I'm getting 3-4 damage down, not a big deal, sometimes as much as like 10-15 if I have a lot of goblins down. So he's drawing a card, and he's taking out a creature, and I can recur him to do it again. Goblin Matron, 2 for a goblin. Boggart Harbinger, 2 for a goblin. Goblin Chieftain, another one of my Anthem effects, he gives them all +1/+1 in haste. Goblin Sharpshooter, pretty much a very well-known goblin. 3 cost 1/1, doesn't uncap during my upkeep. I tap him to deal 1 damage to a creature. Every time a creature dies, he untaps. If I'm playing versus a token deck, say soldiers or sapperlings, he's going to kill all of them. They're going to come in, I'm going to tap to deal 1 damage, it's going to die, he's going to untap, I'm going to machine gun down all their goblins. I mean, all their whatever they have. It could be goblins in the mirror match. Spikeshot Goblin, he's another pinger, but I have to pay 1 red and tap him, and he deals damage equal to his power. Now, he has a base of a base power of 1, so he's just like a normal pinger. The difference being that with all the Anthem effects, I can get him up to sometimes 4 or 5, and then he's pinging for a good amount. Mogg War Marshal, brings tokens, dies, brings another token. Warren Instigator, when he attacks, when he has double strike, 2 cost 2/2 with double strike. When he hits a player, I can put a goblin from my hand into play. Now, because he has double strike, if he's unblocked, he'll hit twice, and I can put 2 goblins from my hand into play. Grenzo, Dungeon Warden, fairly new. He comes in with X +1/+1 counters, where X is his cost, and I can tap 2, put the bottom card of my library in my graveyard. If it's a creature card with power less than or equal to the number of counters on him, I can put it onto the battlefield. If I play him for, say, 3 or 4 as the X, there's pretty much every goblin that he could hit and go to the graveyard is free. What's good about him is that my deck is 1/3 goblins. So being 1/3 goblins, there's a 1 in 3 chance if I use his ability, I'm going to be able to either put it on the battlefield, or if it wasn't big enough, recur it. Sting Scourgeon, when he comes in, he bounces, don't pay his echo, let him die. So then I'll recur him with Wort, and I can just keep bouncing things. Weirding Shaman. He more or less does the same thing as Warren Weirding. I have to pay mana, I sacrifice a goblin, and I put 2 1/1 goblins into play. It's basically the same as if I casted Warren Weirding on myself. Goblin Recruiter, when this comes into play, I can search for any number of goblins, put them on top of my library. Very nice. Frogtosser Banneret. My goblins and rogues cost 1 less to play, and he has haste. Mogg Fanatic, 1 cost 1/1. I can sack him to deal 1 damage. The damage is nice. Recur it. Keep doing it. Skirk Prospector lets me sacrifice a goblin to add 1 red to my mana pool. The 1 red to my mana pool is really nice because I can use it for a variety of things. And also, if I get Krenko going, I can really get a lot of mana excel. Spikeshot Elder, very similar to Spikeshot Goblin. 1 cost 1/1, pay 3, and he pings equal to his power. What's nice is that he doesn't tap, so with a lot of mana, I can do it multiple times. And once he gets bigger, I've been able to tap, say, 50 mana to do 40, 50 damage. It's nice. Goblin Chirurgeon, pay 0, sacrifice a creature to regenerate target creature. This is good when I have a bunch of tokens out and someone casts a Wrath that allows me to regenerate, whereas Wrath and Damnation don't. But if they cast a sweeper that's going to kill everything, but I can have the ability to regenerate, sacrifice a bunch of my goblins to this, and regenerate a bunch of my other goblins. And Goblin Lackey, also a very well-known staple. Basically, I play him, attack with him. If he hits, I get to put a goblin into play for free. Now, a couple of the synergies I have, little combos I have that can really help me win, is that I have a few of them. I'll show you what they are. Let's see here. So, here's one of them right here. So we have Lightning Crafter, Kiki-Jiki, and Skirk Prospector. Now when I have all three of these down on the board, I more or less win. So I have to get Lightning Crafter on the board, so he's already championed a goblin. He's just sort of hanging out here doing nothing. I play Kiki-Jiki. Kiki-Jiki has haste. Now I tap Kiki-Jiki to make a copy of Lightning Crafter. So when the new Lightning Crafter comes in, I'm going to champion Kiki-Jiki so he's gone. The token has haste, so I'll tap the token to deal 3 damage to a player. Now I need to do something with the token, so I will sacrifice the token to Skirk Prospector for a mana, or even to any one of my other sack outlets that are free. The point being it's a free sack outlet. Now the token will die, Kiki-Jiki comes back in untapped, and I can repeat the process. Tap Kiki-Jiki, make a Lightning Crafter, champion Kiki-Jiki, deal the 3 damage with Lightning Crafter, sacrifice the Lightning Crafter to Skirk Prospector, and the whole process repeats. And that's just like a nice little 3-card combo that can pretty much instantly win me the game. Another nice interaction I have is between Goblin Ringleader and Goblin Recruiter. So what I do is I cast Goblin Ringleader, and I'm going to search for any 4 goblins. 3 of the goblins I'm going to search for are Lightning Crafter, Kiki-Jiki, and Skirk Prospector, because it's a nice little combo. The 4th one I'm going to search for is I'm going to search for a Goblin Ringleader, because when I cast him and he hits the board, I reveal the top 4 cards in my library and any goblins go into play. So this is what I do. I cast my Goblin Recruiter. I search for these 4 goblins, maybe another one. We'll call it a 5th. We'll say Goblin Lackey. No big deal. So then my next turn I'm going to draw. It doesn't matter what order you put them on the top. The order doesn't matter, as long as you put Goblin Recruiter on the top of your library. So they're on the top of your library. Now I draw for my turn. I draw Goblin Ringleader. I cast him. I reveal the top 4 cards of my library, which is 3 of my combo pieces and another goblin, put them all into my hand. Now with the right amount of mana, if it's late game, I can win almost, pretty much on the spot, as long as they all hit the board. But what I'll do is if I have the 1 mana, I'll cast Skirk Prospector, sacrifice all my other goblins for mana, and I just might have enough mana to cast my other 2 cards to win on the spot. As long as I leave 1 other goblin free to champion Lightning Crafter. I need to have 1 goblin on the board, and then these 3 down, and then I can more or less win on the spot. This is one of the win conditions I have. Another one is a token overrun. I can produce a lot of tokens. Just getting value from Wort is nice. You know, she brings a lot of value, being able to just do what she does and recur. Things that are great recursion are, you know, my Sting Scourger, which can bounce, that's great for recursion. Other things that are great for recursion are my Tutors. They're great for recursion. My Gempalm Incinerator is great for recursion. My Murderous Redcap. My Beetleback Chief or my Siege Gang Commander. Those are all cards that once I start recurring things at a good pace, they really just help win the game. So that's more or less the reason I made a lot of the card choices, some of the synergies, some of the combos. I mean, the deck really just synergizes with itself. Being goblins, it's already powerful. Being that my general can recur things is even more powerful. And I mean, look at it. She's got little baby goblins. How cool is that? Little baby goblins. You've never seen little baby goblins before. So yeah, I mean, that's more or less my lands, enchantments, artifacts, pretty much everything I could apply. You know, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Additions that you would make, cuts that you would make. If you have the deck, how you like it, how it runs, just let me know what you think. Thanks a lot. Bye.